is defending his company publicly against, breakup, sale, whatever. It's just unheard of. So the retention power of these ICP tools is going to be an issue, and that's kind of almost counterintuitive. Here we're talking about cuts. We saw 5% last year. Going into the fall, we saw another 5% pop out. Certainly, if you hadn't done it in September, you were doing it by November, and that's underway right now. A lot of firms are just announcing those cuts today, and we would expect that the likelihood is you'll see at least another 5% coming up by the second quarter. So total cutbacks of at least 50% across a lot of firms. The first 10% of these cuts, and this is, again, not to minimize the wailing and gnashing of teeth and the human suffering that's going on out there, but the first 10% was pretty easy. This is a bull market, of a long time. You have 5 years, 15 years, 25 years, however you look at it, from 83, from 91, from 2001. This has been a fabulous run. So the first 10% was pretty painless, to be honest with you. The next 5%, you're going to have to start, my observation, talking with our clients about retention issues, critical path, the next 5% is going to be a lot more painful, because what you're going to be doing, if you're not cutting into productive revenues with those terminations, you're going to be cutting into your capacity to grow again when the markets come back, whether that's the end of this year or the end of 2010. So there it is. That's where we stand. I think the most important thing, and I'm kind of ordering these in terms of my priorities, is they need to be very sensitive to the fact that, I made a comment on this earlier, so I'm repeating myself, but there are a lot of young people in these organizations who have never seen this before. This type of volatility, they just never understood that that's what they signed up for when they came to financial services. It was a very attractive, you put a straight line between 2 points coming out of school to making a lot of money, and this was the place to be. And that opportunity set had a certain amount of risk that came with it, and they're just now living it. So a lot of sort of life coaching is clearly in the cards here. In these bad times, this is what I now call the Merrill effect. John Thane's putting $85,000 carpets in his office while the world's going to hell in a wheelbarrow. This is not a good scene. You've got to make sure that your senior managers, whether it's people reporting to you or the people you report to, you have a, if nothing else, I am empowering you to take action. If everybody's not walking the walk and paying attention to the little stuff out there, you're going to see a huge, the bottom's going to fall out of you for you on morale and this whole thing. So the little stuff is really important, the visible actions that every senior member of management can make and walk in the walk, talk in the talk. Key employees. I call it the critical path analysis. I'm sure many of you guys have done this, if not before, certainly as a result of post 9/11 in your emergency planning. You got a critical path. If one person or one function stops, if one person leaves or one function stops, what stops your company? What stops the business? I mean, it can be I don't need to give you examples. You guys have all been through this, but going back and revisiting that and thinking about that critical path chain, and then going to those people who sit along that chain and spending extra time differentiating them. Differentiate them in compensation, differentiate them in attention and recognition, differentiate them in terms of education. This is a knowledge management business. These are all the tools that you can use beyond compensation. We should probably talk about some that I'm not thinking of. Lastly, I'm sort of getting ready to flip this to Trudy, but financial services firms, the reality of it is when we compare it to industrial companies, consumer companies, we've done a terrible job essentially building organizational management glue culture within our firms. There are a few exceptions to that. Capital Group, Vanguard, I can give you a few examples. But generally speaking, the high levels of compensation, the tremendous incentives financially that we offer people are a tremendous shortcut. And it's been working like crazy. But if we are in fact entering a new paradigm of narrower margins and slower growth, we're going to have to bring some other tools to the table to hold our organizations together in the face of falling bonuses or more slowly recovering bonuses over time. It's been a profitable shortcut because you were able to grow through your business faster, depend less on the organic infrastructure of your culture, and fast growth is good. I mean, the markets have flourished on it, but it is part of, in my mind, it is a non-financial deleveraging. Everybody's talking about the deleveraging of financial services right now on the balance sheet. We're only talking about the deleveraging of the firms on the organizational culture balance sheet. This is what it's about. So you're going to have to be paying a lot more attention. Repairing the damage. When you violate this young person who came out in 91, who's changed jobs twice, bumped their compensation 30 to 40% each time, bonuses have grown typically by 10 or 20% a year. They're making, let's say, 3 times what their parents made, all right, in this environment. We are breaking a covenant with those people in many ways, and repairing that's going to be, it's going to be a tremendous challenge. So I'm about ready to flip it to Trudy, because this is what she's brought from the industrial world into a financial services firm, which is a very different culture about what's important in your thing. You need to start now with clear, transparent, and honest communication with all your employees on your mission, your strategy, your tasks, the metrics to measure those tasks, and the rewards you provide for them. So, there's no time like the present. There's no magic wand here, but there's no time like the present to try and get it right. So.